All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is going to be standing, as I mentioned earlier, and you're going to need your double ball inside the tote. So inside your tote, lock it down, make sure those balls don't escape. So what we're going to be doing here, and I know you can't see my face, but that's on purpose. I want you to be able to see my foot a little better. So first you're going to go ahead and put your arch of your foot more like in the middle of one of the balls. So even though you have the two balls, you're going to go ahead and just move your foot to the one ball. We're just going to lean in and lean out. So this the arch of my foot in the middle of just one of the two balls that are inside your tote. So you're just going to lean in and lean out. If you'd like to have some support, maybe you hold on to a wall or a chair or something like that. But we're leaning in and leaning out. You have your double ball inside your tote. You're leaning in and leaning out. So it's just one of the balls inside that tote pressing into the arch of the foot. And you're leaning into it and leaning out of it, leaning in. You decide how much pressure, of course. Lean in and lean out, lean in and lean out. Good. Yeah. And then what we're going to do is so I'm using my right foot. I'm going to put the pinky side of my right foot in between the two balls. So it's kind of like a karate chop with my foot. And then I'm going to lean in and lean out. Now, if you have any ankle issues, be careful here. Again, you might want support. So I'm getting more of the side of my right foot. And I'm working on some of my ankle mobility at the same time. So I'm letting the ankle just gently roll out and gently roll back. So it rolls out and then rolls back again. If you have ankle issues, just be really careful about this. And all the while, you might also be feeling some work happening on the arch of the foot again with the ball. And again, there's no right or wrong here. I'm just, showing you some options. You might come up with something that works better for you as long as you're not creating anything sharp, as long as you're not, gripping or guarding. And then we're just going to go ahead and start to just roll. And you can put your foot in the middle of the two balls, or maybe you just move it back over to one of those balls again. So rolling front to back. It's a little different sensation than using the little orange spiky ball. Rolling it back and forth, back and forth. And then you can do the same kind of thing on the inner arch. We did the outer side, how I rolled the foot out. If you want, you can go, and again, maybe you want to hold on to something here if you feel like you're becoming a little unsteady. I'm getting more the inner arch of that foot as we do some eversion and then letting the ankle roll in and out a little bit. Again, if you have ankle issues, be gentle about this. Don't overdo it. It's important to have mobility in that ankle. It's supposed to be a mobile joint. So it's good to work on that mobility. And then we'll go ahead and pause with the toes basically stretching back. The balls are doing the stretch for us. The balls are pulling those toes back. And I'm just kind of leaning in and leaning out. What's happening is the toes are stretching back this way. Good. So if you're just joining us, we're finishing up one foot. We started with one of our feet at the double ball. So you might, when you get to our second side, you might want to just go back to the first side. If you just joined us, I don't want you to be uneven. So we're using our double ball today instead of our orange spiky ball. So I'm just stretching those toes back. So I'm leaning in, my heel is on the ground, and it's just kind of pulling those toes back. I'm getting a little bit of stretch in there. If you happen to ever get plantar fasciitis, this is incredible for it. A lot of times plantar fasciitis actually comes from lack of mobility in the big toe. It's not just the arch of the foot or the calf, which is what a lot of folks focus on when they try to heal plantar fasciitis. The big toe is a big part of what can give you plantar fasciitis too. So we're working on that. All right, so we're gonna go to our second side here. So I'm going to my left foot. So I'm putting one of the balls, so again, I'm using my double ball, but I'm using one of the balls and right in the arch of the foot. And I'm just leaning in and leaning out. If you want to hold on to something, a wall or a chair, feel free to do that. Just putting pressure on and then taking it off. I'm putting pressure on and I'm taking it off. I'm allowing that ball to really kind of go into the foot and then I'm releasing the pressure off. So again, I'm just kind of leaning onto one of the two balls that are inside that tote right now. All right, so we're going to do the one where we let the outer part of that foot come to in between the two balls. And I'm letting my ankle roll a little out. Again, if you have any ankle issues, please be very gentle about this. So allowing that, so you're getting a little massaging on the outside and even the top of the outer part of my pinky side of my foot. And at the same time, this ball is doing a little massage on the arch. So we're getting both sides of that foot as I'm kind of karate chopping through the middle of the two balls. Leaning in and leaning out, leaning in and leaning out, whatever amount of pressure feels appropriate for you. Remember, you only want to go to the point where you're feeling something, it's interesting, but in no way, shape, or form are you starting to feel anxious. All right, so then we can do the inner arch. So I'm just going to show you from this angle. So I'm letting my inner arch kind of go in. My knee does come in, so be careful with your knee. So again, you control how much pressure. If this doesn't work for you, you don't do it, okay? You go back to something else or just roll out the foot or just go back to the original one. You're getting great work just stepping on and stepping off. Okay, so inner arch, I'm leaning in, leaning out, pressure on, pressure off, pressure on, pressure off. So if you joined us a little bit late, you might want to go to that other foot now so you're evened out. And then the rest of us, we're going to go ahead and just roll front to back, roll it out, roll it out. And then we'll pause and we'll do that one where the toes kind of get stretched back. So you can see I'm just kind of leaning in here and the toes are stretching back this way. I'm using the balls to stretch, particularly the big toes. I mean, all the toes, but the big toe is an important one to really get this mobility into. Again, that's going to help us avoid plantar fasciitis. It's important to maintain mobility in the ankles and the toes. Good. And just another couple breaths here. All right. Good, good. All right, we're going to come to the floor. So that's one of the things that we can do to affect our whole system. Of course, everything's connected. And if we start with the bottom of our feet, we're going to affect our whole system. So you're going to need at least one block now. If you don't have a block, you can use your Pilates ball or a bolster or a pillow. And you'll probably want a second block or something also to go under your head. So we're going to be placing the block or whatever you're using like a block about the middle back bra line, I like to say, area. And then this other block or whatever you're using like a block is absolutely supporting the head. I don't want anybody's neck dangling like this, please. That's too much. So a block supporting the head, maybe even it's on its tallest setting. Okay, whatever you need to support your neck so that there is nothing straining in your neck. And then what we should be experiencing is this lift in the chest, thoracic spine, middle back, lengthening, opening, the chest and collarbones are widening. Allow your arms to lay down out to your sides with the palms up. And I recommend keeping your knees bent so you have more support for your lower back. So adjust this block as needed. If it's too much, go ahead and use your Pilates ball or a pillow or something else instead. this can be pretty aggressive. So adjust, maybe the block needs to go up or down. Up usually will be more comfortable if it's too much. And then again, something, please support your head. So now we're just going to close the eyes or take a gentle gaze on the ceiling and start to focus on your breath. So send the breath into your lowest part of your belly, into your ribs, up into the chest. It's a 3-part breath, filling up like a balloon. And then through the nose, slowly exhale. So count how long the inhale is. Maybe it's a 3 or 4 count. And then allow the exhale to be longer. Maybe it's a 4 or 5 or 6 count exhale. Whatever it is, it's longer than the inhale. Right off the bat, trying to bring ourselves into more of a parasympathetic state, a recovery state. Long exhale. And 3 more breaths, just like that. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, you can look at your screen, but I'm going to try to talk you through this. So hopefully you don't have to look at your screen. You're going to take your 2 first fingers, your peace fingers, the fingers you would make a peace sign with. You're going to straddle your ear, both of them. I can only do one because I have a microphone on the other one. And you're just going to be basically massaging both ears. So you're going to get behind the ear, in front of the ear, and you're just rubbing your whatever feels good. Okay. So you don't have to get aggressive about this. Whatever feels good. And in here, we're tapping into our vagus nerve. And that's our wandering bunch of nerves that's 100% associated with our parasympathetic state. So that's our rest and recovery state. We're going to tap into that a lot today. So allowing yourself to move up and down the ear. And again, both sides. I'm just showing you one since I have the microphone on my other ear. You can do both at the same time. And you're still laying down unless that started to become too uncomfortable for you. And then come back into some breath here, deep breaths as you continue to just massage self myofascial release work on those ears. And one more big breath in and out. Good. And then go ahead and clasp your hands above your chest. Interlace your fingers, knuckles reach towards the ceiling. And then you'll start to reach your arms back behind you to whatever degree your shoulders allow. And then bring the arms back up over your chest. And again, if this block is starting to be too much, maybe you switch it out with the Pilates ball or a pillow instead. In no way are we trying to get anywhere close to a 10 in terms of intensity, maybe a 7. You should be feeling something. It should be interesting, but there's no emergency. There's no guarding. You're still able to take deep breaths. One more time, reach the arms back and then bring it back over your chest. Good. All right, lay those arms down by your sides and take one more big, big belly breath in. And then open your mouth. Let it go. And you'll very carefully start to make your way up and off of those blocks. We'll set them off to the side. You'll be using your Pilates ball now, and we'll be placing it underneath your belly. So right in the middle of your belly. So belly button. And then you'll figure out if it needs to be higher or lower, depending on what you're experiencing. Putting a pressure onto your belly area can be pretty intense for a whole bunch of reasons. So if no matter what you do, it's too much, you probably need to let some air out of your ball. We're just going to start here with some breath so you can relax your forehead down to the backs of your hands. And then when you breathe in, you'll feel your belly press against the ball. And when you breathe out, the ball will sink deeper into your belly. And just keep breathing like that 3 more times. Full breath in. You might even pause with the breath in. Long breath out. You might even pause at empty. And again, you breathe in. Option to pause. Remember, it's just an option. Take it or leave it. And breathe out. Option to pause with the breath out. Take it or leave it. And one more time, breathe in. Maybe hold. And breathe out. And start to shift your hips from left to right. You can keep your forehead down here, or perhaps you come onto your forearms, your choice. Letting that ball shift to the left and shift to the right. And shift to the left, shift to the right. Again, getting some vagus nerve stimulation here. But so many other amazing things happen when we do belly massage. So a lot of our emotions, particularly our stressful emotions, tend to get stuck in our gut. This can help release some of that. There's definitely an emotional benefit to doing belly massage. There's also health benefits. Like most of your lymph, a lot of your lymph, the majority of your lymph lives in your gut. So your lymph system fights disease. So if your lymph system is sluggish, you won't be able to fight off disease as well. It will help you stay healthier. We're going to start to move that ball up now. So it's going to end up right at about the xiphoid process. So if you're not familiar with that, is that we're at the top of the belly region, not quite onto the chest. Okay, and this can be a lot. So you might need to adjust it up or down depending on you. So first, again, just breathing. Maybe you lay your forehead down. Maybe you keep on to the forearms. If it's too intense, again, you might need to let some air out of that ball. Start to take some deep breaths. And exhale. And this is another area that can get very stuck when we're stressed. When you're really stressed, sometimes it almost feels like you can't breathe past this place. And it's definitely connected to tension in the fascial tissue in this area. You might even feel the ball kind of tucking a little underneath your ribs. If your ball has too much air, that's not going to be possible. But if it's got some pliability to it, it can kind of tuck under your ribs, which then affects your diaphragm, your breathing muscle. So if it's too much to be on your forearms because of extension in your back, don't do that. Just lay your forehead down. It's fine. Keep breathing. Everybody's body is different. Really check in. This is an opportunity to really, really check in. What do you need? Does the ball need to go up? Does it need to go down? Do you need to let some air out? You just need a break for a second. Maybe you do, and then you can come back to it. One more big breath in and long breath out. We're going to move that ball up one more little notch. So now it is on the chest. So a portion of it might even be touching the collarbones. It's not on the neck though. So we're not pressing into the neck here. And then if you'd like some support for your head, you can put your hands on the front of the ball and just rest your chin on your hands. There's more air on this front side of the ball than this back side of the ball. So it's kind of hugging my tissue this way up towards my chin. And I'm just taking breaths here first again. Take a few deep breaths. When you lay on your belly like this, sometimes it can be more available and easier to experience the breath, not only coming into the lower belly, but even the lower back. So when we breathe at 360 degrees, it should be all the way around the whole torso. It's not just a belly extension to the front. Your back should be filling with breath as well. You might be able to experience this on your belly. And maybe not today, but just keep tapping into that, keep checking in and see what you can experience in terms of your breath. One more big, big breath. And let it go. You're going to put your hands on the earth and start to move that ball all the way to the right shoulder and then all the way over to the left shoulder. So we're just slowly massaging the superficial tissue of this chest area. Again, vagus nerve running through here, but also if we tend to have tension in the front of our bodies and the chest particularly, it will affect our posture, absolutely create issues in the neck and potentially the shoulders. And very slowly, one more time to the right. One more time to the left. And then go ahead and remove the ball. Bring your forehead to the backs of your hands. Bend your knees. And then just let them slowly windshield wiper to the left and to the right. And release your leg. Start to make your way onto your hands and knees. Two options. You can bring your hips towards your heels like a child's pose. If that's not comfortable for you in your knees for any reason, you can just round your spine like a cat. So a little bit of flexion. So laying on that ball can kind of press us into a lot of extension. So moving in this opposite direction for a few breaths can be nice. One more breath in and out. And release that. You're going to be making your way back onto your belly and taking the right arm out to the right. rolling that shoulder down and back. It's important that we don't dump forward into the shoulder for this stretch that we're going to do on this chest and shoulder area. So the palm is flat on the earth, ideally, and then you'll start to roll towards the right arm. Now, you have some options. I can use this left hand to support me here and hold me up. Notice my knees are bent. That's comfortable for me in my back. Some people will step that top left leg up and over. Now, if I need support for my head, I'll slide a block underneath that head so that I'm not having to hold it up. So maybe that's going to be what I need. So ideally, what you're feeling is something in the chest area, maybe a little bit in the front of the shoulder or even into the arm. What you don't want to feel is a pinching back here or really too much in your lower back. So check in and adjust your body as needed. So we're going to be here for about another 5 or 6 breaths. So make sure it's a place you can stay. And they're slow breaths. Make sure you're not creating tension someplace else. If you're holding your head up, you're probably going to start to feel pain in your neck. If you're doing too much with this left arm, it's going to get tired and you're going to start feeling tension in that. If you're twisting too much in your back, you might start irritating your back. So find a place where you can really settle in and not create tension elsewhere. 3 more breaths. Roll the shoulder down and back. Don't let that right shoulder dump forward towards the ground. Pull it back. One more big breath in and out. All right. And then we're going to take that same right arm and it's going to go underneath you now. So some of you, this will work just fine laying on your belly and laying right on top of that right arm. For some of you, that's going to be too much. And you'll come onto your knees instead and do what we call thread the needle. But I do recommend your other arm be there for support for your head. You could put a towel or something there. You're either on your knees or maybe you're all the way onto your belly. Check in. You want to be feeling something in the outer right shoulder. It should not be pinching on the inside. If it's pinching on the inside, you probably need to change the angle of this right arm. And again, we're going to be here for a little bit. So start to breathe. And in your mind, have a conversation with your body and just invite it to soften, to relax. Let it know it's safe. Sometimes our body is doing its job, trying to protect us, so it just locks down. And we need to gently convince the body that it's okay to let go. It's okay to let go. 3 more breaths. And we'll gently start to make our way out of that. Come back to, again, either a child's pose for a breath or 2, or that rounded cat posture. And then eventually you'll start to make your way back onto your belly. The left arm will go straight out to the left, palm flat on the earth. Roll that shoulder back. You'll start to roll onto your left arm. Maybe you step the leg over, maybe you don't. Maybe you have a block for your head. You can use your right hand for some support here. Keep rolling that left shoulder down and back. We don't want it to dump forward. The idea is to get our bodies back into postural alignment. The more in alignment, the more likely your body will heal itself. Energy can flow more freely when we're in alignment. The system just works better when things are in alignment and when our posture is the way that it's supposed to be. That's definitely not with rounded shoulders, hunched shoulders, flattened back. So we want to keep moving in the direction of postural alignment. Every breath, you soften, invite your body to let go. It's okay to let go. Three more breaths. And very gently, we start to make our way back onto the belly. And then again, you have the option to simply slide that left arm underneath you. Bring your forehead to the back of that right hand. Or maybe you're moving more into an all fours position and taking a more traditional thread the needle. Either is perfect. More is not always better. So if a traditional thread the needle is what allows you to just relax, then that's where you're going to go. You do something more than that and you're feeling like you have to guard or you're not able to take a deep breath, you're bringing tension into another area, then it's too much. Get off. 3 more breaths. And then very slowly making your way out of that. And then bringing your forearms to the ground and you'll be on your knees. We'll move through some cat-cows in this forearm position. Round the spine. Extend the spine. Breathing in and breathing out. All right. So we'll go back to using our double ball inside the tote. We're going to be bringing the double ball to the front of your right thigh. So we're going to be releasing the quadriceps and all the way up into the hip flexor at the very top of your leg. This can be a lot. If it's too much, you might want to move on to carpet or double or triple your mat up. If you don't have another mat, you might put a towel or two down to absorb some of the pressure. So the balls are right above the right knee. Now, if I'm leaning to the right, I can put a lot of pressure on there. If I kind of lean more to the left, I won't have as much pressure on there. So I'm going to lay my body all the way down. Again, I like to support my forehead with my hands. And you're going to start with bending and straightening the right leg. So bend and straighten, bend and straighten. You can play with flexing your ankle or pointing your toes. It'll feel a little different depending on what you do. And then go ahead and extend that right leg straight out. And you'll just shimmy your leg side to side. So it moves side to side here. You'll get a little cross fiber massage here. So again, we're right above the right knee. And then coming onto the forearms just enough that you can push and pull from the knee to maybe 4 or 6 inches above the knee. So just kind of working on a little range of motion here. Just we're going to go section by section. Keep the core tight here so that you don't allow yourself to come into a big sway back and hurt your back. So I'm really supporting myself with this other leg. I'm lifting myself up and I'm pulling and I'm pushing with my forearms, and I'm moving about 4 to 6 inches up from my knee up. And then eventually pause at that 4 to 6 inches above the knee location and relax back down. We go back to our bending and straightening. So the balls are getting closer to the middle of the thigh now. Again, play with some flexion of the ankle. Maybe you point the toes away. You could even do a little windshield wiper with a bent knee. And then eventually you'll straighten the leg and just do a little shimmy side to side. And make sure you're still breathing. And then we'll start to just move from that location up 4 to 6 inches, engage that core. If this is too much, just go back to some of the bend and straighten or the shimmy of the leg. This can be quite a lot. So if you're guarding, you're clenching your teeth, you're holding your breath, just remember it's too much. Pushing and pulling, pushing and pulling. And then eventually we end up really quite close to the top of the thigh. For me, I like to turn a little bit to my right here so that I can get more into the TFL, the psoas, the outer part of my upper quad. And then I'm going to bring my body back down. You might just stay flat. I'm leaning a tiny bit to the right. That's what works for me. And you can bend and straighten that leg again. We're tapping into, again, the upper quadricep area and even into the psoas, the hip flexors. The hip flexors are absolutely notorious for tightening down when we are in a fight or flight situation, or even in a fight or flight emotional state. So they should tighten up if we need to run from a tiger, for sure. They're supposed to be tight so that they can help us run quickly. But unfortunately, many of us kind of live in that fight or flight state, which means these hip flexors are on constant tension, and that will absolutely affect the lower back. Straighten that leg, a little shimmy, shimmy, side to side. Remember, you have control how much pressure you put on here. And if it's really too much, move the balls up or down from where they are. Don't leave them in a place that's too much. All right. So now, again, a little push and pull. So I'm really leaning quite a bit to my right so that I can really allow it to come more into the psoas, hip flexors, a little bit more into the upper portion of my iliotibial tract IT band and that TFL, all of that affecting the tissue in my hips. It can affect my knees. So if there's tension in here, I will probably start to have tension in the hips, knees, or back, or all of them. All right, good. So we're gonna go ahead and come off of the ball now. And once again, it can be nice to just take a moment and round the spine into like a child pose or a cat posture, your choice, but then walk over on a diagonal. So I'm going to walk to the left and then really reach the right arm out. So I'm getting a lot in this right side body. I'm even shifting my hips a little bit to the right so I get more from my armpit all the way to my hip. And you decide if your hips are way back by your heels or if they're lifted up. Whatever works for you is perfect, as long as you're feeling something in that right side body. And then let's walk it the opposite direction, really reaching out the left side. And I'm shifting my hips to the left. I'm feeling something all the way from this armpit to this hip. I'm hoping you're getting something close to that as well. Breathe into the ribs. One more breath. All right, good. So we're going to go ahead and switch sides. So right above the left knee is where we will start. And again, I like to lay my body all the way down. And then I start with bending and straightening my leg. Bend and straighten, bend and straighten. If I need more, maybe I come onto my forearms or come up onto this knee and put more pressure. I can lean to the right, I can lean to the left. Play with it till you find the amount of pressure that feels right for you. Extend the leg out straight and then shimmy that leg side to side. And then we'll push and pull just from the knee to maybe 4 to 6 inches above the knee, depending on the length of your leg. We're doing our leg in 3 sections. So my legs are not very long, so it's really only like 4 inches. For you, it might be 6 or 8 inches if you got really long legs. We want to cover the whole leg. All right. So eventually you're going to pause at that middle of your thigh. For me, that's, like 4 or 6 inches above my knee. For you, again, it might be 8 inches. So bend and straighten the leg, bend and straighten the leg. Take a deep breath in and out. Make sure you are breathing. And then go ahead and straighten out that leg, and it shimmies side to side. And then we'll push and pull if that works for you. A little integrity of that core. Keep it tight so you don't hurt your back as you push and pull here. You almost get to do a little bit of a plank. If that doesn't work for you, if your back isn't liking it, then you don't do this part. You just go back to some of the other bend and straighten and the shimmy. All right, eventually you're gonna work that ball all the way to the top of your leg. And as I mentioned on the other side, for this one, I'm gonna lean a little bit to the left. That's my choice. You do not have to. It's definitely more intense if you lean to the left. Bend and straighten, bend and straighten. And again, adjust those balls so that they're in a location that's maybe a 6 or a 7, not a 10. I'm definitely a little sore today, so I'm backing it off a little bit. I'm leaning a little bit more to the center, not so much to the left. I usually lean a lot to the left Yeah, my hip flexors are talking to me, so I'm backing it off a little bit. Shimmy that leg. And then we push and pull, push and pull. All right, very good. So let's come off of those balls. And you're going to go ahead and take the balls out of your tote, or if you have a second pair of balls, go ahead and grab them. We need them out of your tote now. And you'll be placing one ball on each glute. So you'll be lifting the hip up, placing the balls in the middle of each glute. Once you have that, soles of the feet together, knees out wide. If that does not work for you, then just leave the feet on the floor. When I say it doesn't work for you, maybe your knees or your hips are not having it. The other thing you could do if you think, well, I don't know, I'm close, but I'm not quite there, maybe you support with a block or your ball under whatever side might not be loving the position. Okay, if you have two balls, of course, you can use that too. So this should be a little bit of an opening in those inner thighs. You should feel the pressure of the balls underneath your glutes. But again, it should be something that is no more than a 6 or a 7 in terms of intensity on the stretch and on the pressure on your glutes. We're going to be here for about 5 big breaths before we do anything else. So focus on your breath, let gravity do the work for you. So we're going to do this 3 times. You're going to contract your glutes, tighten, tighten, keep squeezing, take a breath in, and then relax. Let the glutes just soften. Maybe the balls are able to sink a little deeper into your glutes. And then again, we contract, squeeze, tighten those glutes. Tight, tight, tight. Take a breath in. And then exhale, relax your glutes. One more time. Tighten. Squeeze those glutes so tight. Take a breath in. Exhale, let it go. Shh. Soften your glutes. Let those knees fall open. Big breath in. Long breath out. So if you're able to stay a bit longer, leave your knees as they are and shimmy your hips side to side. Hips go right, hips go left. If that's too much on the hips or the knees, or it's just not working for you, then you can put the soles of the feet on the earth instead. And make a good choice for you. Hips go side to side. Slow, intentional movement. And then bring the soles of your feet to the earth. Move the balls to the top of your glutes, right below your hip bone. And again, you're going to shimmy your hips side to side. We'll just leave the soles of the feet on the earth for this one. Knees point towards the ceiling. You might notice the balls kind of walk themselves off of your body. They do that, lift up, put them back, and start to shimmy again, side to side. And then go ahead and lift up. Remove the ball from the left side. Place the right one right in the middle of your glute again. And then that right knee will start to fall to the right and then come back to center. Other option, feet are stepped wide and both knees go to the right and then back to center. So it's either just the right knee or both knees. If you're doing both, make sure your feet are stepped nice and wide as your mat. And then move that ball to the outer glute so it moves to the right. Same thing, knee goes to the right and center, or maybe both knees to the right and center. Check in with your back, make sure that's okay. And then move the ball right back to the middle of your glute. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Start to shimmy your hip side to side, moving left to right, left to right. Go ahead and remove that ball. Keep the ankle crossed and start to rock your knees side to side, keeping the figure four shape. Or if you need more, you'll cross your legs more. And what I mean is like crossing your legs like you're wearing a skirt. And then this will be more intense. So it may or may not be appropriate. And you decide the range. Maybe it's all the way to one side. Maybe it's all the way to the other side. Maybe it's very small. Maybe you're really just moving like 12 inches back and forth. You can absolutely pause for a breath or two on one side and then the other side. All right, unwind those legs and you'll place the ball under your left glute, right in the middle. And then that left knee falls to the left and then center to the left, or maybe both knees. Remember, the feet are wide on your mat if you're choosing both knees. And then go ahead and move that ball to the outer glute and one or both knees to the left and center, and to the left and center. And moving that ball to the center of your glute again. Left ankle over right thigh. Shimmy your hip side to side. Removing the ball, keep the ankle crossed, knee rock, side to side. Remember, again, you could cross the legs more, like you're sitting with a skirt on, if you need more. This does make it more intense, so it may or may not be appropriate. You decide what's appropriate for you. Listening to your body, not just saying, oh, I should be doing more. Don't let your ego drive you on this one. Listen to your body. What does it truly need? Could pause for a breath or two on one side, and then the other side, perhaps. Or maybe not. Maybe you just keep moving. All right. So we're going to move on to the last one we'll be doing with the balls. So you might need a block, so you'll have that nearby just in case. You'll be placing your 2 balls on your upper trapezius. So you'll decide how far they go underneath your body. The farther they are underneath you, the more intense it will be. Make sure your head is supported by something. If your head doesn't touch the ground, maybe you put a pillow underneath there or a towel. So start to move your arms around and then you'll decide, do you need more? If you need more, you can just lift your hips up and sort of dynamically hold yourself up. Or I recommend sliding a block under your tailbone so you don't have to work. And then start to move your arms any way that feels like it's doing something for you. You can make circles. You can do like a snow angel. You can bring one arm down, one arm up, and switch. Check in. Is it the right amount of pressure? Are you guarding? Are you holding your breath? And at the same time, are you feeling something? I mean, if you're there going, I'm not really feeling anything, then maybe you need to move the balls. If it's too much or not enough, adjust where the balls are. Do something different. You want to do something here, but don't overdo it. Maybe you just find stillness. Sometimes just pausing and breathing is really the answer. Arms by your sides, or maybe arms overhead, or even out to your side. Move or be still, but definitely breathe deeply. Go ahead and take another 5 or so breaths, moving or finding stillness. And after your next breath, go ahead and remove the balls, set them off to the sides. Step your feet wide on your mat, but then TP the knees towards each other. Lay your arms down alongside your body. Let your head just slowly rock from right to left. And then pausing at center, we're going to revisit that one we did in the beginning with the fingers on the ears. So again, your peace fingers, your 2 first fingers on each ear, and just giving ourselves one final little ear massage, tapping again into that vagus nerve one more time. Just a few more times. And then relaxing your arms down by your side. Your choice to leave the TP'd knees, or you can extend your legs out. And then take one more really big breath in and let it go. Final rest. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste, my friends.